What's going on, guys? Apathettic here with all your tips, recommendations, and everything in between. In today's Destiny 2 video, I'm going to help you master your Hunter gameplay with tips and tricks that I've used to increase my KD, go flawless in trials, and take on some talented players in Destiny 2. There are a couple of topics that separate great Hunter players from average Hunter players, and those topics include movement, dodging, subclass, exotics, and stats. Understanding these topics for Hunter will serve as a good foundation for a player new to Hunter and a great refresher for my Hunter veterans. Not having a strong understanding of these basics for Hunter can hurt someone's ability to be effective on this class. So if you're looking to improve your game on Hunter, you're going to want to stick around. The last thing I'll add is I also stream on Twitch, so make sure you use the link down below to drop a follow if you want to see more gameplay like this live. With that, let's get into it. Movement is always a key aspect of your game no matter what class you play, but for Hunter, it's probably the #1 thing that draws people to the class initially besides their cape. Hunters arguably have some of the best movement mechanics in the game when you combine their class ability with their unique jumping mechanics that will probably feel more natural to new players compared to Titan or Warlock. It's this jump that is a big part of the reason why so many top players and average players play Hunter. But there's a big difference in terms of how average Hunters use their jump and what jump they use, and some of the more elite Hunters in the game. Starting with the jump itself, I highly recommend choosing Strafe Jump. The reason Strafe Jump is the best option for PvP is because of two things. First, this jump only provides one additional jump, which I'll come back to later. But more importantly, this jump gives you strong directional control, which is great for not only having a strong control of the direction of your second jump, but also gives us the ability to slow that same momentum mid-air, allowing us to change our direction on a dime, throwing off our enemy's ability to track us. The other benefit of this jump is it also allows Hunters to move more horizontally across the map when jumping, which keeps us from getting too high in the air and opening ourselves up to more angles to be shot from. This also has the effect of not only providing the perfect amount of height to our jump to effectively engage our enemies, but also allows us to jump at them in a more straight line, allowing us to close the gap quicker. What I mean by this is on Hunter, if you jump too high and you go to shotgun someone, you may find you're not doing very much damage because our jump is taking us out of that effective range. With Strafe Jump, we can get a good amount of height to throw off our enemy, but still be in the effective range of our shotgun or primary, and because we can control the direction and momentum, this allows us to better target how we jump at our enemies when the situation calls for it. The last benefit that I touched on earlier is how Strafe Jump gives us only one additional jump. The reason this is a benefit is that it forces us to be more disciplined with how much we jump on Hunter, since we only have one jump to use. While Hunter may have some of the best movement in Destiny 2 and is the greatest strength of the class, it can also be its greatest weakness if not used correctly or overused. The biggest mistake I see people making on Hunter is they often jump way too much, causing them to die, when if they hadn't jumped and sprinted away instead, they would have lived. Jumping to get around a map is best used when you know there aren't any other enemies around, typically around and near your own spawn. The biggest advice I could give for playing Hunter is focus on your slide being the main source of your movement and jumping sparingly or when forced. This will cause you to be more disciplined in how you jump and will keep you alive in those situations where jumping will get you killed. Keep in mind that with Hunter, jumping more often than not, you're going to be opening yourself up more to getting shot than if you stayed with your feet on the ground, sliding in and out of cover. Fight the urge to use your jump as your panic button and really focus on honing your movement when sliding and sprinting, as this will allow us to get the most out of Strafe Jump on our Hunter. Doing this helps to make Hunter's movement mechanics as punishing as possible to your enemies, but also giving us the best chance to survive. Our next topic is easily the best class ability in the game and does so much for Hunter class as a whole, and that's the dodge. This class ability has insane potential in PvP, but is often used too much or at the wrong times, hindering its effectiveness. It's also important to note that for PvP, Gambler's Dodge is a superior option since it will do the most to help us stay alive when dodging to get out of bad situations. But in order to get the most out of your dodge, it's key to make sure you're using it near cover as much as possible. What you want to do here is engage an enemy near cover, so that way as you're taking damage, you can easily dodge back behind the cover. This concept sounds simple, and it is, but it's not easy. It's important to constantly be aware of your positioning as it relates to your cover around you, because when you aren't, that's when you see Hunters dodge in the middle of an open area, and it doesn't do anything for your survivability, and if anything, makes you easier to kill. The other benefit of using your dodge near cover is this allows you to curve around a corner as you're dodging, allowing you to make a clean getaway. This simple trick is one of the biggest reasons Hunter are so hard to kill when they play near cover. The second they get caught in a bad spot, they dodge back behind cover or around cover, and they are free to regen their health and re-engage from a stronger position. This trick is especially good for sniping, since you can take a shot or two, then dodge away as your enemy tries to close the gap. The other way the dodge can be effectively used is in between kills. What this looks like is you slide and kill one enemy with your shotgun, then as a second enemy approaches, you can dodge back behind cover, then immediately slide back out for the kill. This is an example of the kind of misdirection that you can create on Hunter using the dodge alone before we even incorporate any jumping into the equation. Keep in mind when you dodge, it also temporarily removes the enemy player's aim assist, making you even harder to track. When we use dodge tactfully and when utilizing cover, it creates great opportunities for you to either create misdirection or escape with ease using this powerful ability. The next aspect of mastering the basics of Hunter is choosing the subclass that best matches your playstyle. This means knowing the strengths and weaknesses of different subclasses on Hunter. For example, if I'm playing Spectral Blades, I know that the Wombo, Combo, and Super are the two primary strengths of this subclass. In contrast with Bottom Tree Arcstrider, I know the overall strengths of this subclass comes from the neutral game enhancements brought by Focus Breathing and Lightning Reflexes. Knowing the strengths and weaknesses of different subclasses will help guide what we decide to invest in when it comes to stats, the exotics we choose, and even the weapons we run. Personally, I find shotgunning to be very effective on Bottom Tree Arcstrider since they're able to dodge in and out of engagements while taking as little damage as possible and having a very strong melee ability and disorienting blow. But if I were sniping, I would most likely run Spectral Blades to Wombo combo off certain areas and proc flawless execution after getting some headshots with a sniper, giving me temporary wall hacks. Ultimately, it's important to optimize your subclass of choice by making sure we are making decisions based on the strengths of the subclass and how it matches up with your own individual playstyle. Our next topic further builds on this idea of optimizing your Hunter, and that's your stats. Stats are one of the most overlooked aspects of building your character in Destiny 2, and when I started focusing on my stats, it really took my game to another level. For Hunter, we're going to break stats down into two separate sections. We will have our primary stats, or stats that we are putting before anything else, and then our secondary stats, which are the icing on the cake for our class, but can continue to help optimize our Hunter. For our primary stats on Hunter, you want to be focusing on tier 10 recovery and as high as possible mobility. Recovery, in my opinion, is the single most important stat in Destiny 2 because of how much it impacts your survivability. High recovery can be the difference between sliding out to engage an opponent at 3/4 of your health or being at full health, which ultimately can be a difference in winning or losing an engagement. Take this example and multiply it by multiple times per game, and it's easy to see how impactful recovery is. Mobility is our next primary stat, and this one is pretty straightforward. Higher mobility means we get our dodge back more frequently. The more we can get our dodge back, the more we can utilize it to stay alive and continue our sprees. The thing we need to keep in mind for this stat is how there are mods and exotics that give us invisible bonuses to our mobility that can help us impact this stat, but more on that when we get into our section on exotics. As for our secondary stats, this really ties into knowing the strengths of your subclass because then we can be thoughtful with the secondary stats we are looking for. For example, if I'm playing Spectral Blades, it benefits me to focus on investing in discipline and strength that will allow you to get your melee or smoke and grenade ability back more often to use our Wombo combo more times in a game. Also, the inverse can be true here. If I'm running Bottom Tree Arcstrider with Focus Breathing, which regenerates our dodge faster, I know I don't need to invest quite as much in my mobility and look for armor stat rolls focus more on my melee or grenade energy. By using the primary and secondary stat method, it allows you to simplify how you want to invest in your stats on your character and narrow down for yourself what stats matter to you the most. A huge part of optimizing your Hunter and putting you on the path to mastery is the exotic you choose and how it fits in with everything we've already talked about. The fortunate thing with Hunters is they have some very strong exotics to choose from that have their place in almost any playstyle or subclass. But I can't talk about all the Hunter exotics, so don't feel slighted if I don't highlight your favorite Hunter exotic. In terms of the top Hunter exotics, you have Wormhusk with a health bump on dodging, Stompies that further complement the insane movement on this class, and Dragon Shadow, which provides an invisible plus 50 boost to mobility when dodging, an insane boost to handling and ADS speed. Now my two personal favorites that I've mentioned are Stompies and Dragon Shadow. Stompies are the transverse steps for Hunters minus the reloading. I find them particularly good for shotgunning, but they also have their place for my sniper mains out there looking to make a quick getaway. Dragon Shadow, in my opinion, is amazing for sniping since you can run it with Spectral Blades and invest more in your Wombo combo since Dragon Shadow provides such a large boost to your mobility after you dodge. Also, having increased handling speed makes for a deadly hand cannon sniper combo for quick swapping between weapons. Wormhusk is also a very good exotic, but I found I built up too much of a bad habit of putting myself in positions where if I weren't wearing this exotic, I would have died. This leads me to playing a little too careless when not using this exotic, but if you can balance your playstyle when wearing this exotic versus when you aren't, then more power to you. Just make sure you aren't building a habit out of being too out of position. Ultimately, the exotic you choose will vary based on your playstyle, experience, and other factors, so take some time to cycle through these exotics to find out which best suits your playstyle. And if you're looking to further set up your Hunter for success with the perfect stats and armor builds, then make sure to check out the video on the screen so you can get the full loadout breakdown for your Hunter. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe as it's a free way to support me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.